Well, then let's get P.J. Leonard on. I think we're still looking for Marcus Dupree.
Yes, sir.
I'll
be working
we
on
put
that.
out a missing person report
Yes,
on
sir.
him?
We have, yeah.
Do we do the silver alert? Is that what we can do for him? A silver alert?
Well, I was looking forward to talking to him, telling him, man, I was your biggest fan, so he better answer that
we'll
phone,
see.
man. I got to tell him that.
PJ is here, and good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Paul. How are you?
I'm doing dandy. Look, I think I spent some time yesterday trying to get a hold of this and do my diligence as far as show prep. And I couldn't find enough information, so I'm going to make an apology to start off now. I know it's going to be a great movie. I know a lot of people are excited about it. I know that Marcus is involved in here. I'm not sure if he's the producer and how does Marcus figure into this film? And tell me what you can about it.
Okay, so basically when you make a movie, there's more than one producer because there's a lot of different chores that everybody has to take on. So that's why they have usually more than one producer. Marcus is actually a producer in this film. We did throw him in for a little part, but it's more like a Alfred Hitchcock type of appearance. Very short. So the movie is based on a gentleman that I met in Jersey City, New Jersey, along with another student who I met down at ICC. So I've been working with ICC in their film club for probably around, I'm going to say maybe around 15 years, close to it. And I was introduced to ICC by Pat Raspberry, who came out of Tupelo, and who eventually lost a fight to cancer. And then I became bonded with Morgan Cotterini, who's actually in charge of the ICC film, and she's also an instructor at ICC. So through all these connections, I wrote this movie about a young boy. The name of the movie is called Mississippi Scholar, and it follows this kid's life and what he had to do and overcome to go where he is today. And it's like I said, it's based on a true story. And ICC was very helpful. You know, Dr. Allen from ICC and his amazing man, and what he did for ICC. He helped us out with the project. We shot at Ole Miss. We actually had Dr. Donald Cole in the movie, and his character basically explained to everybody who James Meredith was, and it's a cute little scene. But the story has to do with a boy who's fighting not only his problems but his mother's demons, because she's definitely not the type of woman that anybody would want to mother them. But that's not her fault. She has an illness. So he basically has two mentors also. He has a mentor who's a teacher, and he has a mentor that actually is one of the drug dealers in the area. But listen, we all know sometimes bad people do good things, and there's hopefully good in everyone. So this kid has basically those people looking out for him, even though his mother is not in the conditions to look out for him.
The odds stacked against him.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
You know, this reminds me a little bit of the story of Ben Carson. Brain surgeon, Dr. Carson.
Right, exactly.
So,
but you know what it is too, Paul? And I wrote it about an African-American boy because the kid who I originally met was also African-American in Jersey City. But listen, I'm an alcoholic. I've been on drinking 37 years.
Mm-hmm.
There is no color barriers when you get into substance abuse and problems at home. Everybody's got problems. If people out there think that they don't have problems, well, that's your problem because you do have a problem, right? I actually went to ICC and I'm a hop, skip, and jump from Manhattan. Right, I live a mile away from Giant Stadium. I was born in Jersey City, which is one train stop from Manhattan. But I actually went to ICC and took a couple of classes because I now attend University of Cincinnati to study substance abuse at my old age of 61. But I actually went there to ICC, and it was Morgan Cotterini and Dr. Allen who basically influenced me to go after what I wanted outside of movie making. Like I said, to try to achieve a college degree, so it's never too late. But these kids nowadays, some of them are lost for different reasons.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's up to us as adults to pull up our pants and help these kids out.
I think I had a stat on the air, PJ, a couple of 3 days ago, and of course, with social media, you're going to get some people jump on you as racist, but only a couple. And it basically said that if you have just a single mother in the house, there's a 95% chance that kid's going to wind up bumping into the law, having a record one way or the other. If there is a father in the house, there is a 95% chance that kid will not. And if it's a two-parent family, it's about a little over 4% chance that they'll get in trouble. So it matters, but it does allude to your story that how incredibly strange it was for this guy to fight everything through this, and just like Dr. Carson, make it to the other side as a success.
Matter of fact, the one gentleman that I based the story on, he came from the projects of Jersey City. Okay, and the name of the projects was Booker T. Washington, and they nicknamed it Bang Bang Booker because there was a lot of shootings going on. But this gentleman, who's now a man, actually found himself graduating from the University of Johns Hopkins, which is one of the best schools in the country, with a master's degree. So he went from a small college in New Jersey that is really not looked upon as a great school, but it's all about the student also. It's not just about the school. And then he eventually went down to Baltimore, and they allowed him to enter the program for the master's degree, and he eventually gave out the commencement speech. So we all know these stories can happen. It's just that they're not happening enough.
What year did you say this was?
The actual child, or when I wrote it and finished it?
No, the actual case.
I'm going to say the kid graduated Johns Hopkins probably about 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
I say that, PJ, because there are one or two stories in the last 24 hours about other African Americans achieving some incredible grade awards in our schools. So you're right. It does happen. It's not spotlighted enough, and it doesn't happen enough. But this is going to make it a very interesting movie. When does it come out?
So we actually had we had a premiere here in New Jersey, for like investors and family and friends. Mm-hmm. And then we went to the Beverly Hills Film Festival, and we actually won the Best Feature Award, and it's the Jury Award. So for those who don't understand film festivals, when you go, sometimes there's a jury award, sometimes there's also an audience award. The audience award basically is the people that are there, and they vote. So that's a good chance you're going to have your friends and your family and stuff like that, and you can basically campaign for that vote. The award that we received was from the jury. So if you go back and look at the Beverly Hills Film Festival jury, these people are accomplished people from L.A. area. So, and we're not talking about just people who just graduated college. We're talking about people that have been around for a long time. So they have a long resume, and they voted for us. And I think what they did was more of the subject matter and what this kid was able to achieve, and basically the storyline. I don't make Spider-Man movies. I'm not blowing up cars. I'm not blowing up buildings. I'm not doing any of that. So I'll never make, $80 million movies, $20 million movies. I cap off at probably around $1 million. And I only make movies that I can believe in or I can laugh at. It's the only two options. If I don't believe it, I'm not making it. Right? And if I can laugh, then I'll make it, because then you can use your mind and imagination.
Tell me a little bit about this guy, Shannon. When we come back, Shannon Brown. Also, you have a paisan in this picture, I think, is Sonny.
Well, no, you got to tell me how a guy named Paul Gallo winds up in Mississippi. That's what I want to know.
It's a history that you folks just do not know, you Northerners up there. I remember going to Chicago, and I got the same question. My God, that was 1968. How did a bunch of Italians wind up in the Mississippi Delta? See, things haven't changed. I thought we tore down that Iron Curtain somewhere. We'll continue the conversation. Let us get back. P.J. Leonard, writer, producer for Mississippi Scholar Film. And again, we'll let you know when it's coming out and where the premiere is, all of that. P.J., you asked about the Italians immigrating. Ours did the paternal, I think 1906, the maternal 1913 from Italy and came to the Mississippi Delta with dreams of milk and honey and sharecroppers. And the story after that was that they just produced a lot of kids, Catholics and everything else. But
I'm obviously from the New York area. My family's from Chelsea in Manhattan, and they've been here since 1858, and we're all Irish. But what happened was when we moved to Jersey City, my mother sent my father out to find an Irish school. This is when Catholic schools were broken down with nationalities. So my father got lost, and he came back to my mother, and he said to my mother, I can't find that Irish school. He said, I found a school called Mount Carmel. The kids are going to go there. It's walking distance. And we wind up going to school with all the Italians. So I basically grew up with a lot, And everybody says to me, you sound like you're Italian because of the accents and everything. I said, well, if I grew up in a Spanish neighborhood, I'd probably sound Spanish, You adapt to whatever neighborhood you grow up in.
Well, now I know that you're probably more Italian than Robert De Niro after finding out he's only 25%.
He's actually half Irish. His mother's half Irish. His mother's Irish.
See, that's what happens when you go to the wrong school. So, all right, wait. Let me get back to this. How many? Oba is in it. Sonny Marinelli. I think you picked up a guy named Shannon Brown. A little bit about him. He plays the lead character.
Yeah. So I actually lived in Burbank for a year, and both Sonny Marinelli and Oba Babatunde are personal friends of mine. Mm-hmm. And I would have like little barbecues in the little compound that I lived in Burbank. And in that compound, there's a lot of actors and directors and stuff, all up and coming. And there was a barbecue that I had, and somebody asked me, would they mind if I invited this kid and his mother, because they were in from Indiana. That's where Shannon's from, Indianapolis, Indiana. And I said, no, I don't care who comes. So Shannon at that time was probably about 10 years old. And I see this kid jumping all over the place. So I start talking to his mother, and you could tell that the kid was athletic, right? And it turned out his mother played college basketball, and his aunt played college basketball. So he had that in his body and his chemistry. And then I always kept him in the back of my mind because of his outgoingness and stuff. So when I was going to cast this movie, Sonny said to me, he says, who are you going to cast? And I said, do you remember that time we had that barbecue? And he said, yeah. I said, remember that kid that was jumping all around? He says, yeah, that's my guy. He says, you got to be kidding me. I said, no. I said, I've been following this kid's career. So he was on a TV series called Empire with Terrence Howard, and he had a big part in that. He was in Shameless for a couple episodes, and he had a part in that. So this kid had a career since he was like 9 years old. So it's not like I just picked him out of the blue, right? And he has a career that most adult actors would probably envy. And nowadays he's on a TV series called Swagger. He's got a good part in that also. So the kid is up and coming. So you basically got to bet on a kid like that going forward also when you want to try to market your film.
PJ, where was this filmed?
So we actually shot it in ICC campus. We used it as the high school.
When you keep saying that, people, and I know people here know it, but there may be some people who don't know it. We're talking about the Itawamba Community College.
Correct, Itawamba Community College. So we shot on campus, and we played it as our high school. We shot in a Fulton County jail. We shot in Baldwin, the town of Baldwin.
Yeah.
We also shot at Saltillo.
Was what time of the year was it? Was it hot and humidity of summer or?
No. I'm not that crazy. We actually went down there once school got out. So I guess school got out probably like May 13th.
Yeah.
At that time, so right around there we shot. But we were there till probably the second week of June.
Was that your first trip to the Magnolia State? No,
this is a funny story. So I don't know if you guys know this, but the only state in the United States that's allowed to throw an Emmy party, a Grammy party, is Mississippi.
Well, sure we do.
The only original music of the United States.
We broadcast live from the Grammy Museum when it opened.
Okay, I'm not talking about Cleveland. I'm talking about the one in L.A.
Oh,
so that's where the original. That's where the original one is.
Well, I know that, but the only other one is in Cleveland. So
correct. There's two of them, but Mississippi has a party every year prior to the award nights in L.A. So up on the roof of the Emmys, the party. Mm-hmm. So I met a gentleman up there, and he's like, you should put your. And I had a movie at the time. He said, you should put your movie into a film festival. I said, where? And he said, Tupelo, Mississippi. And I said, great. Where's Tupelo? He says, you never heard of Tupelo? I said, no, never. He said, that's where Elvis Presley was born. I said, excuse me, but Elvis didn't know I was born in Jersey City. Why would I know Elvis was born in Tupelo? You know, listen, I might be ignorant, but the reality of it is, I don't know. Listen, I love Elvis's music, and I always used to watch his movies. Yeah. But I never really knew his bio and where he came from. So I went to Tupelo, and that's where I met this woman, Pat Raspberry. And she was like an angel, you know, and like I said, she lost the battle of cancer. But Pat had worked so hard to get movies there. And she kept on saying, you got to shoot here, you got to shoot here. And I'm like, Pat, I said, there's really nothing going on. I said, I don't, you're too far from the airport, right? I have to bring everybody in. But unbeknownst to me, there's a lot of talent in that state, behind the camera and in front of the camera. And the problem is that a lot of people don't realize that. And if you look more into it, you'll find it. And that's what I did. I kept on going back. And then when Pat passed, that's when I built up a bond with Morgan Cotterini from ICC Films, which is Itawamba Community College Films. And that's a program and club that they have over there. And we started working with the students. And I would bring in some recognizable talent to shoot smaller clips, like a short story. One of the students wrote a short story. We produced their short story. And then eventually what happened is when I came up with Mississippi Scholar and we seen some of the locations, we said, this would be the perfect place to shoot it. And then we actually, over the years going there, I cultivated a bond with a lot of people behind the camera so I wouldn't have to bring in people. So we have a gentleman named Jamie Matthews, who's actually our cinematographer. He lives in Oxford. Phenomenal cinematographer. Like, he's really, really good. We're in the process now of talking to someone that we might shoot another film in Mississippi. And I just got off the phone yesterday with Jamie. And Jamie's crew and all those people, they're all from there. And some of the students from Itawamba Community College actually work now in the film business.
Yes.
On a steady job. But think about it. You know, who would ever think that a kid from, you know, Fulton County or Itawamba County would have the ability to work in this business? But, you know, technology made it so easy nowadays for people to get involved. You know, there's a lot of talent in that state. And
I'm hoping that
you can't have it lay dormant.
I'm hoping that Nina Parikh is listening to this from the film festival. We have her on every once in a while, but she's probably screaming one way or the other for joy or pain. But we've come light years, man. If you start listening of all the movies, reality shows, and everything else that's going on at any given time in the state of Mississippi right now, it is amazing. And we had a little bit of a dip, maybe 5 or 10 years ago when we had a problem legislatively with some of the cost of the incentives, but we ironed that out, and it has become a booming industry for us that a lot of people just don't know.
Listen, you're gonna, with the incentives, and I'm not here to you know, fight for the incentives or whatever, but with the incentives, if you look around, and believe me, I'm a Republican, okay? But I grew up in a Democratic world and a Democratic House, and I'm not going to get real political here. But I'm a Republican, and you see in a lot of Republican states, they fight incentives. You shouldn't fight incentives, especially in a state like Mississippi. Yeah. When you see these kids work on this set, and you see their eyes open, okay? And I'm not talking about the Jackson-Madison area, because, you know, that's somewhat of a metropolis over there, right? I'm talking about the kids in Fulton County that are lost. They really have no direction. And then they see guys like me, and I'm not Spielberg, okay? I'm not Spielberg. I'll make a $1 million movie. I'll make a $500,000 movie. I'll make a $300,000 movie, okay? And that's basically my limit. And I don't see myself going any further because I'm going to be 62 in September, and, you know, I'm not a healthy guy, right? So who the hell knows how many years I have left?
Well, Coppola wasn't that healthy. I don't think he died at 52 or 61.
No, he's still alive.
That's what I'm saying. You got a long way to go. I mean, no, retirement is not around the corner for you.
I know my fiance is always yelling at me because I talk like that. But
fiance, see what fiance? Come on. All right, real quick, because we're out of time and I've enjoyed this, but tell me exactly where it's going to show. We only got about 40 seconds.
Okay, so on June 13th at 7 p.m., we will be having a premiere red carpet at Itawamba Community College in Fulton, Mississippi.
All right.
And they can actually go online and purchase tickets for that event if they wish to. And I advise anybody that has any children in high school to bring them. There's a great message here. So the ticket link is MississippiScholar.ticketleap.com. And then that's the link where they can go purchase the tickets.
We got it. And if we find out where Marcus is on the Silver Alert, we'll let you know. Man, PJ, I've enjoyed it. Thank you, partner. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much, Paul.